Today, I get to test out something pretty special, something that up until now has only existed commercially, and this version fits on a desktop. It's pretty reasonably priced, and as an artist, a woodworker, and a maker, if this thing does what the company says it does, I'm pretty stoked to have it. This is the Eufy Make E1 UV printer. I'm fortunate enough to be one of a few makers that get to test this product out for the first time. It's currently in Kickstarter. Eufy reached out initially to see if I would beta test the product and just give them feedback. But as we got closer to the Kickstarter, they decided to sponsor a full-length video so that I could show you guys the test that I'm doing. Whoa, there's so much in here. Oh my God. Okay, so what the heck is this thing? I think that's a really reasonable question. It is a UV printer, which I had only heard about kind of in fringe conversations about really commercial applications for printing things. And when Eufy reached out, I immediately called my buddy John Kaipoff, who knows everything there is to know about makerspaces. John gave me all of his knowledge, and I'm gonna call him right now so he can tell you what he told me.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, John, how's it going?
Good, good.
So I just got the Eufy Make UV printer. Essentially, I'm just like wondering, like, what the heck is this thing? What is a UV printer, and like, why is a small desktop version of it such a big deal?
This printer takes UV printing to the masses. Now, I use a $32,000 UV printer that is very temperamental with an awful user interface. The maintenance is insane. It's just going to revolutionize the entire maker industry. It's going to find its way into woodworking, into people who do crafts, literally prints on wood, acrylic, stone. I mean, it could print on literally everything, curved surfaces. You're going to love it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm so excited to try it out. Sweet, thanks, dude. I really appreciate it.
I know. I appreciate the call. Thanks, man. Bye.
So I think the thing that I noticed right off the bat is that this does not look like a pre-production model. They have everything packaged beautifully, there's a really nice set of instructions, and it even came with a sweet set of safety goggles. With the packaging taken out, I can start assembling the parts. First thing to go in is this air filter. This filters out the fumes from the UV resin ink. The plug was also in the box, so I decided to plug it in and turn it on. Once I got it plugged in and found the super secret button, it started to auto-calibrate. And if you're looking at this machine and thinking to yourself, I kind of have one of these at home, like an inkjet printer. Is that what this is, Michael? Kind of. It is a good way to think about it. It's kind of a hybrid between an inkjet printer and a resin 3D printer. It takes CMYK inks. It also takes white as well as a clear coat. And we'll get more into the details of that in a minute. But the thing that you need to know about this stuff is that it cures by UV light, which means that if it's exposed to sunlight, it can clog and have all sorts of issues. These are the issues that John was talking about having with his own machine. But Eufy came up with a really clever solution, which is this cleaning cartridge that's replaceable, and it automatically cleans the printer heads. You don't have to worry about it. It runs its own cleaning cycle. Now, we really want to get into prints, and it's basically assembled and ready to go except for the app. And so I downloaded that using a QR code that was on the instruction manual. I also put it on my computer. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff with graphic design in order to print on this machine, so it made more sense for me to control it with the computer, but you can definitely do both. I downloaded an update and ran it through its basic calibration cycle. It does this automatically, and you see there's a little white piece of paper on the print bed. It's using that to test the ink to make sure that it's flowing correctly. It does have to inject all 6 inks through separate tubes, and it takes a little bit of time. This is probably about 15 to 20 minutes. Also, you'll see that little lock toggle on the side. You can swap the print beds, and this is the smallest of the 3 that they sent me. Don't worry, I'm going to test the other two out as well. Okay, so the machine is calibrated, it's got all the ink in there, and now it's ready to print. And they give you a couple of test tiles. These are ceramic, and they've got they're fridge magnets. They got a magnet on the back, so just set it in and see how it works. One of the coolest things about this printer is it works on objects of different heights. It uses lasers to pinpoint that object in space, and then it just starts printing on it. It can print perfectly flat, but it can also print dimensional objects up to 5 millimeters thick. So in this case, I'm using a print that they've supplied, and it does have some dimensionality to it. The flat ones print very fast. The dimensional ones take a little bit longer because they're building layers. Now that I've got a little bit of time to kill, I figured I would work on some graphics. Now, the app does supply a bunch of graphics, but I've been working on lots of things in the background as future AlmFab merch. This is the patterned pliger. It's something I started on a plane when I was talking to Ashley, and she was like, what would you do if you had to do a mascot for AlmFab? So I made a tiger with patterned plywood stripes. It needs a little bit of touch up before it's ready to go, and so I got a nice 20 minutes working on the iPad before the print was done. Oh my God, that's so impressive. Whoa. All right. I gotta, my mind's blown a little bit. That's really impressive. I'll admit the image was really cheesy, the graphic that they sent me. But having that little raised section is so impressive. This looks so professional. I'm blown away. I actually, like, the calibration when I first pulled it out, it didn't calibrate very well, so I was worried the colors were going to be off, but it must have just had to run a little bit. It looks so good. I mean, my mind's kind of blown because I can think of so much possibility for this. So I spent 10 years of my life as a studio artist, doing like art shows and galleries and stuff like that. And to have the ability to create prints like this of your work and sell them is massive, like massive. Okay, well, let's just have fun with this thing. I'm going to put some of my artwork into it. We're going to experiment a little bit because I really think this, I mean, it's so impressive. After seeing how it raised the Statue of Liberty from the background, I was curious if you need 3D modeling experience in order to create that look. But no, they have like a built-in AI software that looks at your image and determines what is in the foreground, what is in the background. I'm not going to say it's 100% perfect. I had some issues with it, which honestly got ironed out, and we'll show that later on in the video. But honestly, it's really surprising that as somebody without any 3D modeling experience, you can get this level of control with just a couple toggles and slides, and their preview mode is awesome, so you can see exactly what it's going to look like before it prints. Okay, so thoughts, that looks pretty darn good in general. There's a couple issues. One is that there's some spots that were white that read as background. So I use the little AI background tool. So I need to figure out how to prevent that from happening. I mean, the raised thing is really, really cool. And like the amount of detail, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of those Shrinky Dinks, because this is really small. And it's got so much detail. Do you see that? After creating a really cool first print, I was really excited to see what else this machine can do. So sticking to the same material, I decided to try a whole bunch of different types of graphics and pull as many sliders as I could find in the app to change the way that it's printing to see all the sorts of things that this thing is capable of.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, I have run a ton of tests now, and I did it all on ceramic because I wanted to pull all the dials and see the different printing styles I could get out of it. And I'm just really impressed. Like, the professional quality of these prints is astounding for a home printer. And the coolest thing that I realized while I was making custom stuff for our house is that this is a gift-giving machine. So this is a print of my cat Sloop, and I was going to see my buddy Rich at a bar, and I printed off a funny picture of Francis, his orange tabby. And I mean, he lit up. He was like, this is so freaking cool. How did you print this? Now, it wasn't all perfect. I have had some issues, but I mean, I'm learning a new machine. I've struggled a little bit with getting the background removal tool to work perfectly. And I struggle with whether I should be critical of the software or not, because this stuff's in beta and I'm testing it out, and I'm gonna tell them that these are the problems that I had, and hopefully those will get fixed. So I'm really excited to just keep going. Obviously, you didn't come to this channel to see me print on ceramic. I think it's time to print on wood, and also there's a much larger printer bed which I want to try out. This is just their mini bed, which is great for making little things, but you can do full canvases. So let's pop that in and see how it works. This is a wood shop, and obviously I want to see how it works on wood, and I also want to figure out if this machine is practical to own for a woodworker. Like, what can we do that's actually useful in the wood shop? A really common thing for woodworkers to do on commission is signage for shops and storefronts. And I was wondering if you could do basically a hybrid of a wood project, but also a really beautifully printed sign. For this, I'm just taking a piece of walnut, scanning it, and then popping in a sticker design that I have from my sticker pack that I sell on my website. Now, I did eventually talk to Eufy about the issue I was having with the background removal, and that just stemmed from using the wrong file type. It will eventually accept more file types, but right now it only automatically removes the background with PNGs. This print is before I had that knowledge and I used the AI background removal tool, but honestly, it came out pretty darn good. So that's it with a raised background, but what if you just print directly onto the wood without any white background or anything? This is what happens.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so one side, this is the bumped out side, and then this is like just directly on the wood, and it looks kind of like a tattoo. It's like ink. You could see the wood grain through it. I wonder what this looks like with finish on it.
I didn't want to go too deep down this rabbit hole, but I really do want to know whether this is going to resist finishes and if you can knock back the sheen, which you totally seem to be able to with a bit of steel wool, and it doesn't compromise the print at all. I then put a tung oil finish, this is from Bumbleshoots, over the surface that is shiny, and it didn't beat up, and it looked like it worked pretty well. It absorbed just fine. On the matte side, I thought it was appropriate to test out wax and see how that worked, and not surprisingly, it worked really well. Eventually, I'll try out other finishes like water-based and spray and lacquers, but I'm imagining from this test that they'll do just fine also. Okay, I have been wanting to try this from the very beginning, which is just printing on wooden panel. This is the sort of thing that could easily be the bread and butter of a small business, is printing people's portraits or printing graphics or whatever you want onto a wood panel. Whoa. That's insane. Wow. Look at that. How cool is that? I mean, I'm floored by this. Like the quality of the ink looks so good. It's so vivid. You don't see any print lines at all. This is as good as any professional level print I've ever paid for. And so to be able to do that in your own home, my mind is going crazy with all the options that you can do with this thing. I feel like I'm only scratching the surface in this video, and I did put out the question to my Instagram followers as well as my Patreon supporters as to what they thought would be a cool use for this in the wood shop. My favorite response came from my buddy Kimani, who said that it'd be cool to print on jigs, like your logo that goes on a jig or a template or something that you sell at a trade show. Now, I love that idea, and I didn't have a jig that I needed to make, but my push sticks were looking pretty tired, so I decided to make 3 more. I used the template that I built, and you can find on my website, and I added my logo, but I also added a QR code to where you can find the push stick on my website, so when people are watching my videos, they can click the QR code and download this free template. Shameless website plugs aside, the print came out really good, and it only took about 6 minutes to print, so it's a really quick process if you're batching out product. Those look pretty darn good. I tested out the QR code. I had to use a weird Bitly QR code, and so it links to Bitly, so I kind of messed that up. But it still links eventually to where you can get a free push stick. Yeah, really happy with that. I think it'd be cool, like if you're doing trade shows or anything like that, to be able to print both your logo, QR codes, any sort of information on there. It's pretty nifty. All right, I'm gonna move the machine into the office. In order to do that, I have to send it through like a shutdown cleaning cycle. Can't just unplug the machine. It needs to take time to clean the printer heads so that they don't get gummed up. Once it's done with that, I can unplug it and move it into the office where it's gonna live. It's very heavy. All right, so it is now in its permanent home out of the dusty workshop, and it has run through both the cleaning cycle and the priming cycle. Each one of those took about 15 minutes. The machine you basically leave plugged in all the time, and it runs its own cleaning cycles as it needs it. And if you haven't touched the machine for like 3 days, it will do a full flush out of the resin, and it will set it up for kind of a sleep mode. Next, I want to try out some different materials, because this can print on metal, it can print on plexiglass, and it can also print on glass. I also want to test out a different bed. I have a third bed, which is the rotary bed, and I'm going to pop that in here and see how it works. So this is where I'm getting off script. I'm going to start printing on things that are not provided to me by Eufy, and we don't know whether they're going to work or not. Now, this rotary bed is super cool, and it's designed to print on mugs and all sorts of round objects. It has certain limitations, but I was surprised. This is just a beer glass that we've had lying around. The dishwasher has washed all of the imagery off of it, so I decided to print something new on it. Now, I was super curious how the software would handle rounded objects. So I placed this old gold sticker image on the surface, and then the cool thing is that the preview mode still works. This is a beer glass that I loaded into the machine. It's not something that has standard, but it figured out the proportions of it and where it's going to live on the mug and how to kind of wrap it around a tapered surface. I don't know how it does it, but it seems to do it really well. Oh, and a quick word of caution, there's no way to show this without showing some flashing lights, so if you're sensitive to that sort of thing, I recommend pausing the video now and skipping forward a little bit. So if you're curious how this print head works, this is the perfect moment to see it because of the clear glass, and it's really fascinating to watch. It lays down layers of UV resin much like an inkjet printer, and you have a bunch of different options. You can have it print white first and then put a layer of color over the top of it, which is what it's doing right now. I'm going to test it without the white in a minute, but other options include reverse printing as well as laying down a gloss coat on the surface if you want a glossier finish. The purple light is UV curing the resin as it goes. It'll continue to cure just with sunlight, so it makes it a really stable ink as well. I don't know why, but I was expecting the ink to be really opaque. After seeing it on all these hard surfaces, the instant I saw it on glass, I was surprised that you could shine light through it. So that got me thinking, what would happen if you remove the white from the background? Could you get kind of a faux stained glass look? To test this out, I found a scrap piece of plexiglass and loaded it into the machine. Whoa, sorry about that. Try it again. Something that was a major aha moment for me was that I could actually make two different images, stack them on top of each other, and program them differently. So I have the background coloration that doesn't have a white layer underneath it, and then I have the raised lines of the illustration, so I can kind of get this multi-dimensional print and have a lot of control over it.
It's subtle. Yeah, without the white, it's very subtle. Let's take it outside. Oh yeah, it looks a lot better outside. Look at that. Oh, that's cool. It's like a stained glass effect.
All right, now we're getting weird with it, and I'm excited about it. So it's always bugged me that these outlet covers are white, and I've always wanted to make them out of wood, but I haven't had the time or the energy to do it. So I took a photo of the wall and I transposed it onto the outlet cover and printed out a perfect camouflage for this cover. Pretty silly, but I'm really into it. So much so that I made another one that's dragon scale pattern plywood, and I think this is legit cool. Like, you could print out anything, any piece of hardware, and camouflage it however you want. You could grain match it to the desktop where you have to put a piece of hardware in the top of it. It's really cool. The other question that I got on Instagram was whether or not you could print on fabric. And I was positive that this was going to work no problem whatsoever. I don't know if, so this is just drop cloth. It may have a coating on it or something, but it came out kind of looking ghostly. You could see the dramatic difference when I put the coaster next to it.
Fabric versus coaster. Oh, I think it got knocked out of alignment. Yeah, I think it got knocked out of alignment. Not any better. Okay. Actually, the first one seemed to be better.
If anyone knows what's going on, I thought I had registration issues or it got bumped while it was printing. They supply canvases to print on, so that's kind of like printing on fabric. I'm not sure what the difference is, but I struggled with it. One thing I really like about using the Eufy Make is that I can work on other things while it's running. Most other digital fabrication tools like CNC or lasers, you have to babysit and watch, but this, I'm able to work on other projects on the side while it's printing in the background.
Oh my god, that looks so good.
This was about an hour long, printing at the highest resolution and a perfectly flat image. It came out awesome, and you could grow a business, many people have done it before, of just printing pet portraits. Okay, there's one more material to test out, and that's metal, and that's currently going on the print bed right now. But while that prints, I figured I'd answer the question that I know that everybody has, and how strong is this stuff? I'm really curious about it too. I'm curious mostly about like kind of glossy surfaces. I have my suspicions that some of them aren't gonna work that well, but others seem to be really strong. So let's just do the fingernail scratch test and a couple other kind of non-scientific things to see how well these hold up. All right, let's start with the New York magnet on ceramic and see how it holds up. So with the fingernail scratch test, it feels really solid. I'm not like getting any off the corners or the edges if I scrape even really hard. Now I'm curious if I take a blade to it. You wouldn't really expect a fridge magnet to hold up to something like this, but I'm curious. Okay, so yeah, you can scrape through it with a blade. And that's really not that surprising. I mean, it's on the level of a 3D printing resin, so it's about what you would expect for 3D printing. Now let's try these push sticks. I've got a feeling that it embeds pretty well in this stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting much from scratching. We'll run a key across it. Yeah, that doesn't do anything. Yeah, I'm not getting anything. That's pretty good, actually. So this, I kind of already know the answer to, because stuff's starting to come off of this one. And the reason is because I left it completely glossy and untouched when I printed on it. I did that for a reason. I was curious, but knowing what I know about making stuff, you should always knock back a shiny finish before you apply anything to it. So this one, you can just take your fingernail to. I know what's gonna happen. Yeah, so you can scrape it off with your fingernail. Look, that's pretty bad. This one, however, I did take some steel wool to it beforehand, and it is significantly stronger. And I'm not getting through it in the same way that I was on this. So obviously, any surface that has a little bit of abrasion to it is gonna hold on a lot better. All right, so here's the plexiglass. I already cut out this one. So, I mean, I can't get those off. I kind of don't want to ruin it because I want to give this to Ashley. But we can test the colored pigment on here, which I'm really curious. So yeah, aggressively with the fingernail, I'm not getting anything off of that. I think it bonds really well. It seems like I'm just kind of burnishing on it. So yeah, that's pretty good. And I didn't scuff this up at all. I just think that maybe the nature of this kind of plastic, it adheres a little bit better. All right, and this is the one I'm going to be sad about. I have already noticed some of the lettering starting to come off. So I'll admit that this wasn't a very clean glass when I used it. I didn't like clean all my fingerprints off of it, and I had been handling it a good bit. But I'm noticing like the text, I can take that off with my fingernail. So that's not going to hold up. I'm wondering if they have some sort of primer that you can use on glass or something like that. But I don't have a lot of faith in the glass, and I think that that's just not going to make it through a dishwashing cycle. All right, now I want to test a real world example, which is this coaster. It's going to have lots of glasses on it, and I mean, nothing. I mean, that's still perfect. You know, those results really don't surprise me at all, because it makes sense that if you have a slick, shiny surface, you're going to want to put some sort of primer or coating on it. It's just material science. Things don't stick to slick surfaces. So I know that you can print directly on raw metal, but you probably should give it at least a Scotch-Brite beforehand. And most of the products that they provide with these have some sort of coating on these. These are powder coated. Their metal plates that you can print on are coated in some sort of primer. And, you know, you can definitely print on glass, but in terms of like what you should use it for, that might be what you take into consideration. Like decorative bottles, that's great. A beer glass, something that's gonna go through a dishwasher, maybe not. And then, you know, the stuff that's flaking away are the small bits of tiny print, which I did intentionally because I wanted to test it, but it didn't seem to work out. So just be mindful of that when you're choosing what material you're planning on printing on. This is the metal wall art plate that Eufy sells, and like I said, it's pre-primed, and it gave me the idea of trying to print something that looks like one of those old like 7-Up signs that you would see in an antique mall from like the 1950s that have enamel coating on it, but doing it with the Alm Fab This Alm House logo. I used the AI software to raise the sections. I barely touched the design, and I just wanted to see how close it could get to my vision.
Whoa. Oh my god, that's exactly what I wanted. What? It's so good. Oh, it's perfect.
It looked great, the raised sections were perfect, and it totally passed the fingernail scratch test. But how does it work on an unprimed piece of metal? I got a piece of brass, Scotch-Brited it, and then I cleaned it with alcohol just to get it as clean as possible. I only handled it with gloves, and then printed off my design for an angle gauge angle finder. I thought it'd be really handy to make your own tools on this machine.
That's beautiful. Oh my God.
My first question was, is it accurate? Does it actually find angles? It worked great for that, but I started to notice the edges were coming off. And then I took my fingernail to it, and sure enough, it wasn't strong enough to be used as a tool. So I'll admit, when I started this video, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I was gonna find enough applications, which, looking at this, makes me feel ridiculous now. Now I'm like, I can't stop thinking about projects for it. I think that's the coolest thing about this. Like, the barrier to entry for this machine is pretty low. I mean, the price is reasonable for what it can do. It's more than reasonable for what it can do. And it's really user-friendly. I didn't really watch any tutorial videos. I just popped it in, went through the app, and it worked really well. I'm not the most tech-savvy person. I have gotten bogged down with 3D printers. I've gotten bogged down with laser cutters and CNC machines. But this is basically like running an inkjet printer. So I'm really impressed. Definitely has some limitations, which any tool does. The slick surfaces are challenging. I bet you there are going to be some people who are smarter than me that will come out with, you know, these are the sprays that you put on it as a primer before you apply this. Sure, there's solutions out there. What do I see people using this for? So much. I mean, especially like making signage for clients. It's really cool being able to print like directly on wood when you're making a jig or you're making something that you sell, to be able to print your logo directly on it and know it's going to be perfect every time. That's pretty huge. Etsy's going to light up with this stuff. There's so many cool things. Like if you're to make pet portraits for friends and family, you could do pretty well for yourself. I'm just so impressed. I can't wait to keep using the machine. If you've got ideas, I'm sure there's going to be some really clever ones in the comments. So leave them down below. Also, if you want to back this Kickstarter, there's a link down below, and please use my link because I do get a little bit of a kickback. I appreciate that. Thanks to Eufy for sending this thing out. I've had a blast working with it. And if you're on the Patreon, thanks patrons, I'm going to be giving away the Pattern Plywood panel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. So I have in my hand something that I printed. Check it out.
Aww, Sloop. That's so cute. What do you think? Huh? Oh, come here, Sloop.
He likes it.